Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the state of influencer boxing. Is it dead? Is it alive? Well, I'm going to give you guys my quick opinion on this matter, starting on of what's happening in 2024. Right? We were just coming off of the Prime card and Misfits 11, heading into 2024. And well, with Misfits 12 having a great start, I think, some events in between 12 to 17 have not really been the most exciting in terms of us fans. And I want to, if we want to go really specific, I'd say 13 and 15 were not the most, I would say the most entertaining in terms of events. And that's where we're at, right? What does Misfits do? What's the problem of this scene? I want to mention, and where could we go? Or where could we take place so it gets back that excitement where it once was within influencer boxing? I want to first start right when influencer boxing was at its peak. The UK had a lot of excitement, and honestly, the United States, everyone in the US fan base was really excited on influencer boxing, especially since both the Paul brothers were involved, and then of course the most popular creator in the UK, KSI, is also still currently involved. Since now Logan has taken that venture to go and do WWE, and Jake went to do professional boxing. The U.S. side of things obviously has not been the same, and I feel like if we were to ever go back to that peak, it has to be someone from the U.S. that is in the similar or above the popularity of Jake Paul and Logan Paul to bring that mainstream esque back of influencer boxing. So I would say if Kai Speed, any of these tier type of streamers or creators were to do influencer boxing, yeah, this scene would get excited. But here's the problem, right? If Kai and Speed were to ever do influencer boxing match, they'd have to, obviously they have to go into training camp, but they'll have to spend less time doing content because of this. And is it really worth the money to do, to drop everything that you're doing right now? Where Kai and Speed, shit, they're making a lot of money. So that's where I kind of think on why it won't ever reach that peak for a long time. For a long time, I feel like the only way where it could potentially is if right before their like absolute stardom, they get the fighter, to fight in the influencer boxing matches, and then they kind of succeed in the U.S. market to where they get that excitement back. But yeah, that's why I don't think it will ever go to that peak. Now, could influencer boxing still be its own niche and people and a decent amount of them could still be interested? I think that's where it's at right now. So I think the UK, or I should say mainly Europe, uh, on that matter, they are I feel like they're bread and butter in terms of you know the thing still being alive, the influencer boxing still being alive. If they lose that fan base, influencer boxing's done. And Misfits, if they just want to be a UK Europe type of a boxing company where they just do events there, they could keep going with this for a long time. Since look at the fighters who are on Misfits that headline these pay-per-views, or I shouldn't say pay-per-views, just these events. Where are they all from? Right? Let's look at Misfits 14, right? Amadeus Ferrari, believe he's from Poland. So he, again, in Europe. Salt Poppy, although he is from the Philippines, I feel like, his audience is from the UK. On top of the Philippines, too, don't get me wrong, but I feel like, a lot of his audience is from the UK. We look at Misfits 17, this one that we just had back in August. Danny Aarons and Danny Simpson, both from Europe. I believe both from the UK as well. Al Brook, who just headlined Misfits 18 from the UK. Again, I feel like, and a decent amount of these people, right? A decent amount of these fans show up to these events and care about, the scene. And it looks, like I said, the cards look stacked when it comes to UK. Why? Because the creators who are in that country, right, who have their fan bases, will show up to see them fight. And that engagement that they have is what makes Misfits still doing their thing with having the fan bases show up to these events. So, yeah, let me just, that's kind of just, what I've been observing in terms of what's happening in the influencer boxing scene. The UK, Europe audience still showing up to these events. But now, just kind of answer it fully. Is influencer boxing dead or alive? In terms of the mainstream perspective, yeah, it's not. It's definitely on the decline for sure. I feel like the only way where it kind of hits the mainstream is if KSI fights or Logan Paul gets back in the ring, something around that where it kind of hits those headlines. In terms of it's being its own niche, I think it'd still be around for a little while, especially since like I mentioned earlier about the UK and Europe still having that interest in watching all these creators or influencers cross over and fight each other. Just look at the arenas uh, when it's in the UK or it's in Ireland versus the US. You can kind of tell on the interest of these events, especially with, like I said, look at Misfits 18 and compare it to Misfits 16. And obviously, there's a lot more of people who are interested compared to Misfits 16. So yeah, that's where I kind of feel. I feel like it could still kind of survive for a little while but the minute that they lose that UK audience, that's where influencer boxing is kind of going to be the wraps. But as of right now, they could still be afloat for another few years as of right now. But I will say, if it ever comes back alive, it has to be from someone who is fighting at their absolute peak of their social media interest, like a Speed, like a Kai, and that's where it could survive for a long time. Or maybe another aspect, maybe an athlete, some very big athlete fights on Misfits. That will also get them that big push to still be around for a long time. But I think as of right now, they still keep going this direction. I will say, I would say a few years minimum. At the max, maybe their DAZN contract is where we could still see them be afloat, especially if they still want to, um, you know, have that UK audience pull up to these events. I think that's their bread and butter. If they lose that, I think they're kind of screwed. Anyways, if you guys like this video, please hit the subscribe button. Just a quick rant I wanted to share. And the goal, by the way, for this channel, the subscribe count, 10,000 subscribers. I'd really appreciate everyone if they tune in. Just hit the subscribe button. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.